Hey, what's up, everybody? You know who it is. It is Nazasu. Today I'm going to be doing my Destiny 2 raids tier list. Clearly you guys had some very interesting reactions to my last one, going over the dungeons, seeing as how I have some pretty L takes, it seems. We are going to continue the trend of very L takes with going over the current raids that are in Destiny 2 right now. We'll just go in order of their canonical appearance in the game, skipping the ones that were taken out of the game, obviously, because I haven't completed those. Let's get started here with Vault of Glass. The reprised raid of Vault of Glass emphasizes teamwork, and even though people can get carried through it, the mechanics are fun. It's a good time with friends. The loot needs to be refreshed because there are no origin traits on the weapons that comes with the raid. Other than doing the master version for the Vex Mythoclast Catalyst, really the only real reason to jump into Vault of Glass is if you enjoy it, and it's pretty fun. The encounters are not that difficult, and it's easy, fun time with a group of people, and it's one of the easier raids to teach others. Other than the loot being kind of ass and needs a refresh, it's overall a fun time, and I enjoy it. So B tier it goes for me. In and out with a competent group in half an hour, if that. Teaching it to people can take a couple hours if they're new and they don't understand the mechanics, or they don't know how to count from 1 to 7. Otherwise it's a good time. B tier. The Reprisal of Crota's End. This is probably one of my favorite raids that are currently in the game. I really like the mechanic of the chalice and having to swap it between players. Yes, it can get cheesed between 3 people and they can do all the mechanics for everybody, but in a casual run, everybody gets involved, everybody touches the chalice, and everybody has something to do. Especially doing Ir-Yût. That fight is phenomenal. Looking for the wizards, killing the wizards. Somebody scouts, everybody else charges the chalice, and then have designated roles. Same with the Crota fight. It's just a good time in general. The loot from the raid is fantastic. The origin trait is really good. Obviously, Swordbreaker is probably the standout for melee builds. If you don't have a Swordbreaker or a Wastelander, definitely get a Swordbreaker. It's fantastic. Oversoul Edict is really good. And Song of Ir-Yût, that's the machine gun, yeah. It's pretty decent. It's an arc adaptive frame, so if you need one, there it is. I really like Crota's End. It's one of my favorites. It goes into S tier. It's just an enjoyable time. The encounters aren't too difficult, and and you don't need to do master version for the catalyst for Necrochasm. Just need to get Essence of Oversoul, which that in itself is kind of a pain to get, but that's alright. Next, we're going to talk about King's Fall. King's Fall is rather lengthy, with 6 encounters. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. I have no script. With a casual group, it can take, I don't know, an hour and a half. Depends on the experience level of the players. The loot is pretty good. Azaeli's Bane is fantastic. Probably one of the best hand cannons in the game currently. The rest of the loot is meh. I don't have a good Doom of Chelchis roll, but I hear that is phenomenal, and same with the sniper rifle. Otherwise, Touch of Malice, meh. Teaching the mechanics to people is pretty fun. If at least 3 people, 4 people know what's going on the entire time. Everything goes smoothly. Overall, it's a fun experience, and it gets people involved, especially with totems. Totems is probably my favorite encounter in the raid. Everybody just doing hot potato, running between the platform and the Annihilator totem, and getting the Brand's Claimer buff is fantastic. I love that mechanic. So King's Fall is going to go A tier for me. It's a really enjoyable raid. Next on the list, we have Last Wish. Last Wish is most likely my favorite raid of all time. I love the mechanics, calling out pole dancing dragon to my friends, and they don't know what the symbol means, and then they're like, oh yeah, it's the one that looks like he's, pole dancing. That's it's funny to try and convey it to people. The symbols are fantastic. The 6 encounters go by pretty quickly because everything has a really squishy health bar, even with the recent additions to health bars that has happened within Final Shape. The loot is kind of meh. I mean, other than like Apex Predator and Supremacy, you can take or leave the rest of them. Nation of Beasts, I hear, is pretty good because it's an arc hand cannon. Age-Old Bond is fantastic. It's a precision auto rifle. It's void. I enjoy using it. It doesn't take over for my Amit, though. My Amit just lives in my inventory and lives on my person at all times. So, yeah, it's got some tough competition there. But, yeah, loot's okay. 1K voices is kind of meh. I mean, I hear the damage for rotations is pretty decent, but it's not ideal to have, like, more than 1 or 2 of them. Just any play that revolves around ignitions as a boss damage strategy lends better to 1 to 2 players than it does anymore. That's why running more Dragon's Breaths don't work either. But as an experience for Last Wish is just fantastic. I'm one of those people that enjoy the Riven legit actually doing the mechanics, just clipping her toenails, but I understand that you don't get double loot and quicker to just clip her toenails. And yeah, rest of the raid is just fantastic. Gets everybody involved. Vault encounter is probably one of my favorite encounters in the entire game. I'm going to say that a lot, apparently, because there are just so many good mechanics that involve people. I love the raids that make everybody be a part of the raid, or get them to think about the mechanics in some meaningful way. So yeah, Last Wish, definitely S tier. Top of S tier right now. Absolutely just fantastic raid. Yeah, it's really good. Garden of Salvation came with Shadowkeep. Garden. Gambit, the raid, Take Moat, Stunkum. It's a mechanic for half of it. Harpy Boss, kind of annoying. The last boss is fantastic. Rebuilding the platforms and then dunking the moats. Kind of get everybody involved, and you have to protect the confluxes. I'm just gonna call them confluxes, but they're not. That's not their official term. Yeah, it's a fun time. This raid does require people to work together and split off into teams. You kind of need to know exactly what's going on at all times, regardless of what your role is. I don't know. It's just like nobody really runs Garden, right? The loot is just terrible. The div quest is atrocious. It's a unique way to get a raid exotic, but it kind of overstays its welcome when you're in the raid for 3 hours doing the mechanics. It takes a while, especially when like one person is just slightly misaligned and things and breaks. It takes some trial and error, but otherwise it's not too offensive. I really like the mechanics of Garden. It's just like the loot definitely needs a refresh, and the Gambit mechanics in the raid are just kind of like a little annoying. I mean, it's not a terrible raid. It's probably one of the worst raids that are currently in the game, but there is enjoyment to be found here. Put it in C tier. Deepstone Crypt, fantastic soundtrack. First of all, the loot of this raid is amazing. You got Heritage, you got Trusty, you got Succession, you have Commemoration. Like, all bangers. Bequest is in here as well. The only miss for me is Posterity because I don't like 180s, but everything else in this raid is just amazing. Except for Eyes of Tomorrow. Nobody uses Eyes of Tomorrow. It's fun. You have some mechanics where, it's just like one strategy only. Parasite on Atrax is fun to use. Hilarious when it doesn't work and people aren't fully timed up together, so you have to like scramble the person downstairs, and it can be chaotic, but it's a good time with friends. The mechanics of Scanner, Operator, and Suppressor are fantastic. My favorite mission in the entire game is Operation Seraph Shield, and if I could just do those mechanics all the time, I would. I just love how the game utilizes the new mechanics, panels, and seeing the panels, and then suppressing the boss, and then you have to dunk the orb drop the nuclear core into the thing, and otherwise the team wipes. It's a fun, chaotic time. Deepstone Crypt is definitely A tier, definitely above King's Fall for me. Just on fun factor alone. If I want to run a raid and have fun with my friends, Deepstone Crypt is where I'm gonna go. Root of Nightmares. My relationship with Root of Nightmares is complicated, right? Because when I came back to Destiny 2 Season of the Seraph, I wasn't really in any position to be raiding, because I had no gear at all back then. Secondly, I just wasn't a good player. I mean, arguments can be made that I'm not a good player anyway, but that's neither here nor there. But I was in a group for contest mode. Obviously wasn't participating in any raid race because I didn't even know that was a thing. But ended up getting a contest mode clear of Root of Nightmares. Other than like some survivability issues, the mechanics are piss easy. There are really no mechanics in the raid except for connect the dots of light and dark and prevent a wipe mechanic. That's it. Obviously the best encounter in Root is Explicator, because everybody's working together, everyone's doing something. You have to manage both sides of the arena very well, along with being in the right spot for damage and calling out the rotations. The loot from Root of Nightmares is okay. Rufus's Fury is a standout. Ness's Ablation is really good. Briar's Contempt can be good. You have to be like specifically building for Surrounded for it to work. But everything else is kind of just, except for Conditional Finality. That's like the staple. This is the best weapon in the game, hands down. Very versatile shotgun. Okay, saying it's the best weapon in the game is hyperbolic, but just a fantastic weapon. So Root of Nightmares for just how there's no emphasis on the mechanics at all. You can easily, like, 2 people, 3 people can easily carry others through the, and it's been shown time and time again on YouTube that you can also solo flawless this. That's a thing. I'm obviously nowhere near there, but yeah, Root of Nightmares is it's just not fun to do either. It's just kind of like a chore, like, oh yeah, let me go kill Nezarec. Let me just shoot the nodes and run them across. It's just like meh. It can be kind of a time crunch for the wipe mechanics, but you know where you're going and you know how to avoid enemies, and your team knows how to slay out, you're not going to have a problem at all remotely. So for that alone, it's going to have to go D tier. Oh, I did Root of Nightmares before Vow of the Disciple. I'm a dummy. Ugh. There goes my plan for doing him chronologically. But whatever, what's done is done. So now we're going to talk about Vow of the Disciple. Vow of the Disciple is, no surprise, S tier raid. The loot's fantastic. The encounters are amazing. Just the environment in general, like the clean pyramid aesthetic, is superb. The loot with Forbearance, Mission, Cataclysmic, really phenomenal weapons. Deliverance and whatever the name of the Pulse Strike is. I think at the top of my head. I hear that they're pretty decent too. Precision fusion rifle with chill clip, maybe a little too slow for chill clip, but it's 2-shot now. Matter. But yeah, you can't go wrong with Submission, Forbearance, and Cataclysmic. Plus their origin trait of Soul Drinker's amazing survivability. Collective Obligation. Collective Obligation is, I hear it's really good this season because of all the Void stuff and all the Void debuffs. Seasonal artifact mods, but I haven't yet. I didn't do the Pantheon for Rolk, the Indomitable, where I could get it. That's okay. I also just haven't done that many clears of Vow of the Disciple, period. Otherwise, Vow of the Disciple is fantastic for it. Everybody has to be involved with symbols, everybody has to understanding mechanics for the relics, but it needs to be understanding of how to dunk the right relic or the right symbol into the right podium. Very good emphasis on team. Okay, for Salvation's Edge, there might be a bit of recency bias. But if anything that I've said about Last Wish and Vow of the Disciple have been any indicator of what I think about the raid environment for teams, where it needs to be, this is going to be a no-brainer that Salvation's Edge is going to be here. Everybody has to work together. Everybody needs to know how to dunk their resonances. Everybody needs to know how the symbols work in Verity. Everybody needs to know all this stuff. And the encounters are brutal enough to where mistakes are punished hard, right? If you're a casual group going into Salvation's Edge, you are going to get your shit kicked in because the timers for the final shape are huge pressure that makes itself known from the start, right? Whereas with most raids, it's like, oh yeah, there is a time element behind everything, but you're not really privy to that information. You don't know the exact second of like, oh yeah, when does the vault just decide it wants to kill you? There's no hard number that it shows to put the pressure on. It's just like, oh yeah, it's just gonna happen, right? Salvation's Edge really puts on the crunch if you don't dunk your resonances, you time back if you don't quick enough, and it really emphasizes teams like working together as a well-oiled machine to push things even further. Yeah, Salvation's Edge is clearly S tier. Loot, still to be determined what's really the best and what's not. The sword is fantastic. Obviously the bow has Archer's Tempo Volt Shot, so that's really good. Other than that, like anything that's in the kinetic slot, the sniper rifle here is decent, and chill clip on a sniper, okay, interesting. The SMG, maybe not so good. Euphony, fantastic. Exotic, I haven't used it too much myself. I do have it, got it on third run, but Salvation's Edge is definitely the best raid, hands down. I love when raids force people to play together, work off of each other's strengths and weaknesses, and forces everybody to learn the mechanics rather harshly. So, but it's a great challenge to overcome. Yeah, it takes 3 hours casually, because I'm no speedrunner. People do get frustrated from the mechanics, not understanding it, but not everybody's going to be a savant when it comes to standing symbols. But yeah, it's a fantastic raid. So let's go over this tier list once again and just like really look at why I've placed things here, why I've placed things where they are. Anyways, I have been Nazasu, and maybe I have some very L takes, as seen in my previous Dungeons ranking. So yeah, if these are as big of L's, type in the comments that it's a big L, or just let me know what you think about the mechanics of each raid. Let me know what you would put as number 1, what you would put as the last raid. Obviously, these don't include Leviathan, Peter Worlds, Spire Stars, Crown of Sorrow, Scourge of the Past. It is what it is. I didn't play those. I have no reason to rank them. Anyways, I have been Nazasu. I shall talk to you all later. And yeah, that's all for me. Nazasu out.